Hi, welcome to Matt Holman Golf. I thought we'd take a Lee Westwood swing. Obviously known as one of the best ball strikers in the game. A very, very consistent tee to green, pretty much the best driver on the planet. Let's take a look at, to me, why his swing works so well. Lee has a couple of idiosyncratic movements in his swing that you tend to notice. One of them a bit more from face on, but I also think in a lot of ways very, very orthodox swing, and it's no surprise he's such a good ball striker. I remember seeing him about 10 years ago at Valderrama. I was there at the Volvo Masters and surprised how hard he works on his technique. Obviously a naturally gifted player, but it's surprising how many coaches he's worked with and how much work he's put into this action, and it certainly shows to me. So again, in terms of the first move, very orthodox. Club works up the shaft plane line, hands up the hand path, not overly out, not overly inside. Club face hasn't overly rotated, it's still looking down a little bit, very neutral position, so everything is really ideal here. Arms work up into the centre of the chest, shaft just inside the ball. I really like this position he gets in here. Left arm's very much matching his shoulder plane, arms aren't too out in front of his body. Club face very square, so from here he can really just make a simple move and turn his chest over a stable lower body, and everything's going to come back out in front of him, and that's why he's so consistent. Now, one of the movements that he does a little bit more than some other players, his upper body. It's not the best starting place, but we can get an idea what's going on here. You'll see how it tends to move downwards a little bit. This is something that Tiger tends to do as well. I don't really see as a problem. I think it only becomes a problem when players tend to regain their height in the downswing. The problem from there, we're then losing body angles. Our tailbone tends to move towards the ball, and it will create a club path that works overly from the inside, somewhere down, too much on this sort of line. But the good thing with Lee's swing, he doesn't do that, and you'll notice, so if we put a line on the top of his head there, you're going to see that he will just stay down in that position. So if anything, he's moved even more down. So he's just fantastic body angles to me through the ball. He's not coming out of that shot at all. And some talk in Tiger swing he loses too much height. I think there's a balance. Sometimes you can start to lose too much height for players depending on their sequence, and the arms and the body will get a little trapped. I think in Lee's case it's a positive. It just creates great angles through the ball. The other thing I really like with his swing is the way, if you look at his knees, they're looking noticeably right of the target line at that point where they should be, full hip turn. And what I like as he comes down, we will look on front on, he's got that nice shift into that left toe, but how you can still see a lot of his front leg by halfway down. To me, this is a problem sometimes with Tiger's swing. That left hip, left knee disappear too quickly, and the lower body just starts to outrace the upper body, where for me there he's still very matched, very synchronized there. There's not going to be many blocks and hooks from there. And the big issue in better players, really, there's a number of ways to become out of sequence or unsynchronized, but one of the key issues is this lower body outracing the upper body. So that's something really in all my players I'm tracking, is where those knees and hips are. So even coming down late on, you can still see his left leg in front of his right leg. His chest can just really turn. That club comes really nicely out in front of him on path. Impact, shoulders square and slightly opening. Hips passive turning but haven't overly turned. And then you can just keep everything moving through. The other area I really like, again, is back to this club face. Very passive, there's no roll over of that club face, very stable release there. I think what's interesting, you look at a lot of different golf swings, and people presume that they're all very individual in a number of ways. That what I tend to find is a lot of very successful swings in terms of their ability to hit fairways, hit greens, and create power are a lot more similar than players would or coaches even would think. But I hope these thoughts help. I think Lee Westwood's a great model to copy. He's got that slight individual, more movement down, and from front on he's got an interesting movement with his elbow, but I don't really see any negative occurring from that, and maybe we can look at that on a future video.